Yes, people, yes, people, yes, people. Welcome back to the We Talk Football podcast. Back with my guy Quakes, and we've got the pleasure of being joined by the one and only Mr. Rory Jennings. How you doing, Rory?
I'm honoured. Thank you so much for having me, both of you. It's nice to be here, actually. End of the season, we did one earlier in the year, didn't we?
We did.
So we can sort of look back now and rejoice. Yeah.
There's not too much rejoicing.
Rejoice that it's over.
Yeah, rejoice that it's over. From Chelsea fans, it's been a kind of a long season. It feels like the beginning of the season was a while ago. Feels like it was a long time ago since we battered Juve in the Champions League, probably the peak of our season. We looked like the best team in the world at that point. And we know a lot's happened since then, whether it be off the pitch, on the pitch, injuries, sanctions. It's all happened to Chelsea. Yeah. It's been a soap opera, but it's football, and that's why we love it. And we love the roller coaster. We love the peaks and the troughs. But like from your point of view as a Chelsea fan, as a fellow Chelsea fan, what's your assessment of the season overall?
Mate, do you know what's so funny when you hear it said like that? When you just said everything that happened. I reckon that every fan of every club thinks this about their club. I think everybody thinks my club is mental. So if you're a West Ham fan, for example, you'd probably look at Gold, Sullivan, Brady and think the way that our club is run is crazy and we've managed to do whatever. Manchester United fans will say the same thing. Oh, my club is wild. But when you think about who Chelsea are, when you think about what Chelsea represent, when you think about what Chelsea have been through this season, Chelsea are actually bonkers. Like, Chelsea are actually the most mental club, aren't they? No club, I can't think of any other club that... Like, Chelsea at one point this year were European Cup holders, the best club in the world officially, won the Club World Cup, we were the best team in the world. And you couldn't buy a match programme. Like, you couldn't go in a club shop.
Yeah.
You couldn't buy tickets. We were having to, at one point, think that we were playing behind closed doors.
Remember the saga, like it was, could Chelsea fuel their team bus? Are they going to have three at the front of their shirt? Yeah. It's been absolutely mental.
Yeah, I remember. Wasn't Kai Havertz talking about potentially having to go EasyJet to and away? You have to go to Lille on the Eurostar with the fans or something. Yeah, I genuinely believe that if one thing we have learnt this year, Chelsea is wild. It's a wild club. Brilliant. It's been exciting. But I've never really known a season like this. I'd say this is the most destabilised Chelsea has felt in, not necessarily my lifetime, but certainly my adult lifetime. I don't know if Chelsea have ever been as... Certainly the last 20 years. Yeah. This is the most sort of rocky the foundations have been at the club. But it's still not quite the disastrous campaign that people are pointing it out to be. I think maybe it's slightly uninspiring, slightly underwhelming at points. But we still won 2 pieces of silverware, European silverware. So overall, I think it's okay. We finished in the top 4, which is very important for who the club want to be. We completed the set. Winning that Club World Cup was very important. I was in Tokyo when we didn't win it. So it's nice to go one better. And yeah, it was wild and weird and could have been better, and there's been a bit of a letdown here and there, losing 2 cup finals, painful. But I think, weirdly, we can take quite a lot of pride in the season.
Yeah, I completely agree.
It's been a tumultuous season to say the least,
yeah.
And it's going to be, I think, a really important summer for you guys. Hopefully the new ownership regime is sorted for you, and you guys can go out and facilitate the squad with some much needed players. Now that you've got a lot of players going out the exit door, what do you think Tuchel's most glaring things to do are this summer?
Where to go with him? I think. Do you know what's quite interesting? Look, I love Tuchel. Right, I think he's the right man for the job. I think he's the right person at the right time, and I think the way that he's conducted himself in this, as you say, tumultuous period of the club's history, is admirable. But he's also made some massive mistakes this year. Chelsea won 8 home games. Seriously, Everton had a better home record than Chelsea. That isn't acceptable. I know there's conditioning, I know there's reasons, and I know there's context to every statement, bold statement like that. There's always context. But we conceded 4 goals at home in consecutive games to Brentford and Arsenal. In that period of time as well, Real Madrid scored bundles at Stamford Bridge. We conceded a lot of goals.
Too many. And
I think that you could say that Thomas Tuchel's first priority is elevating his own performances and his own standards to what they were the previous season. So that's where his initial responsibility is. And then Jamie, it's recruitment. But, when people talk about transfer windows, I think they get it wrong, at least wrong with regard to Chelsea, because it isn't... If I say transfer window, you say signings. And it actually isn't that for Chelsea. It's that a bit. But the revolving door is so important. The right people need to leave, and as many of them as possible need to leave. I I feel so underwhelmed by this crop of players. Like, there were so many of them that I sort of dislike, like actively dislike. So making sure that the right players leave is important, and then obviously strengthening in the right positions is also very important.
You talked about Tuchel elevating his own performance, and that's a question I've asked with Chelsea. I absolutely love Thomas Tuchel.
People don't like it.
People don't like it. I love Tuchel, and it's almost sacrilege to criticise a man who's less than a year removed from winning us our second Champions League trophy. All well and good, and we've seen how well he's done under the circumstance of being a statesman in terms of talking on behalf of the club when no one else wanted to speak, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. But I think a fair question that's levelled at Tuchel is what attacking player under his tenure at Chelsea or under his stewardship of Chelsea has actually improved? What attacking player can you say that Tuchel's come in and he's actually improved? I feel like everybody's taken a step back.
Could you make the case for Kai Havertz?
Possibly, but that's just a natural progression of a man who cost £70 million.
I agree.
Like, that's a man that we expect to be getting at least 12 to 15 Premier League goals. We bought a person who was supposed to be, he was compared to Erling Haaland. When the Bundesliga came back, they were comparing Kai Havertz and Erling Haaland as being the next generation of those superstars. And that's why we paid so much money. That's why we beat off Real Madrid and Bayern Munich to bring him in. And he scored the winning goal in the Champions League final. Granted, that is a big thing, and he'll never be forgotten for that. But in terms of the players that we expected to be mainstays in this Chelsea team, if it's Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner, Romelu Lukaku this season, what player, in terms of attacking wise, has Thomas Tuchel improved for Chelsea?
Yeah, none. But I'm quite harsh critic of Tuchel, by the way. I'm not one of those Chelsea fans that goes mad if you say anything negative towards him. But what I would also say is, I think that every player that you've named there, with the exception of Kai Havertz, if you named him,
it's not good enough.
Isn't good enough.
Yeah.
And therefore, it isn't his responsibility. It's the recruitment policy. Marina Granovskaya at Chelsea seems to get this ridiculous praise. Like, Chelsea fans seem to love her. They love the way that she conducts business. They think that she's drives a really hard bargain. I think she's dreadful.
Really?
I think she's dreadful. I really do.
I'm going to have to disagree.
There we go. And this is the exciting thing, really, with regard to how this conversation progresses now. Because people will always tell me how good she is. Chelsea fans have this almost aggressive partisan support towards her. I think she's made a pig's ear of virtually every signing.
Really?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
She's made fortunes for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, she brings in money as well, but that's often due to the idiocy of Real Madrid or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's not only due to her. And then people will always tell me that people like her, the old regime, Abramovich, Bruce Buck, Marina Granovskaya, they all had the club's best interests at heart. You seen the breakdown of the deal, by the way? Bruce Buck.
Yeah.
Bruce Buck. You seen how much money he's going to make?
Is it like 30 mil?
Have you seen how much Marina's going to make?
It's like 20 odd.
Who do they care about?
Yeah.
Who do they really care about? It's not about safeguarding the club.
Yeah.
He was walking away with £30 million in his skyrocket. It's not about Chelsea. Yeah. It's a business where they're trying to draw as much money and extract as much money out of it as possible.
What I will say on the back of that, again, sorry, it's just becoming that.
No, of course.
Becoming digging out Chelsea. But what I will say is that, and why I'm a little bit cautious and wary about this new regime coming in, and why I feel like the previous regime were good owners in terms of world football, is that we've seen clubs like Manchester United, like Arsenal, and like Liverpool before Klopp come in, fan bases screaming into an echo chamber as a result of having these American owners that are so detached. They take their dividends out, they fly out, their team wins the Super Bowl, and they don't give a shit, frankly, about their English team. And that happened with the Glazers at Manchester United, it happened with the Kroenkes at Arsenal, and before Jurgen Klopp came in, football's a manager's game, and Jurgen Klopp is the reason why Liverpool's successful. It's not because FSG's model, it's because of Jurgen Klopp. Before he came in, there are still quarters of Liverpool fans. This is a team that's been one of the most successful teams in the last 5 years, still calling for their ownership group to leave. And now we've just
and the months before, do you remember the Hicks and Gillette?
And we've seen it with this American ownership group. And obviously Bowie's saying the right things, he's pledging to spend money, but I'm just a little bit worried because Roman Abramovich, for all his faults, and obviously we decried what's happening in Ukraine, but as a pure football owner, his ego was involved in it. It wasn't about making money, it was about his ego. And as a result of that, he would have, for example, Romelu Lukaku, who we brought in for a 10th of a billion, by the way, a striker who cannot score goals for a 10th of a billion. We brought him in, and we know for a fact if Roman was here, he'd write that off and bring in a new striker in the summer to replace Romelu Lukaku. These owners ain't doing that. And how abhorrent that is because of the finances in football, fair enough, you can make that argument. But in terms of where we go as Chelsea, in terms of trying to strengthen those key areas, I'm just a little bit worried that this board are bitten off a little bit more than they can chew.
I think you're onto something with the American owners. I think that there is a genuine case. You know, it felt like the Super League was dead and buried, but that's definitely not the case anymore. You know, the Super League is back in whatever form it's going to arrive again. I think the new Champions League, the talk of more football constantly being played. There is definitely a Super League by stealth occurring. And the fact that now, am I right in saying that the 4 biggest clubs in the country are American owned?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you agree? I mean, I know Man City won the league, but they're not.
Yeah,
they're not the biggest club.
Yeah.
The 4 biggest clubs in the country, being Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Arsenal, are all American owned. I know City kind of throw a spanner in my theory here, but I think most people watching, I hope, would agree that they're not part of that club yet.
Yeah.
So I think that I honestly now sadly acquiesce to the fact that football is moving in a direction of Super Leagueism, and the ownerships will be part of that. Like the American ownerships will be part of that. Games will start being played elsewhere, and whatever that will happen, I think. And it's a sad state of affairs because I was passionately anti that. You know, I had an argument with Petr Cech on the spot to try and make sure that didn't happen. But maybe I'm trying to be as positive as possible here, Kwaku, right?
I respect the positivity.
Bowley's intention is to make money. Your intention as a fan is to win silverware. Your end goal, your ultimate objective is different. But how you get to that ultimate objective is the same thing. So he wants to make money. How does he make money? He wins trophies. You want to win trophies. How does he make money? He wins trophies. So although he's trying to make money on the club and trying to invest, trying to inflate the value of the club and somehow make profit on his £4.5 billion that he's already spent, he's taking you along for the ride, and your ride is going in a direction that you're quite happy in because you're a fan. You want to see silverware accrued by Chelsea, and the way that he makes money is by delivering you your dreams. So while his intentions co-align with your hopes, I don't think there's a problem. The problem will become when he decides the way to make money isn't to win silverware anymore.
Like sort of Arsenal.
Glazer.
Or like just finish in the top 4 every year, and that's why we saw Arsenal. They were buzzing when they spent 100+ mil in the transfer window, spent the most. It's because the board realised that we can still make money finishing in the top 4, but now we're finishing outside of Europe. Arsenal were not in Europe this season. The money's not the same. So I feel like you're onto something there. But again, we can chime on about Chelsea and like how much has gone on off the field and on the field. It's just so much that's happened this season. One thing I do want to throw to Rory, obviously we know your time is short. You're a very busy man.
This is far more fun than anything else we play long, I promise you that.
We're just not paying you as much as other people. We play a game of swapsies here on the wrap up. We're wrapping up the season. We're kind of overlooking the season and looking forward as well. I've had this in my head in terms of working it out. What I would offer you as a Chelsea fan, we disregard football finances because in my opinion, it's fugazi. Football finances doesn't mean a thing at the moment. Erling Haaland went for 50 million to Man City and Kylian Mbappe had a signing on fee of 100 million. Football finances don't mean anything. So in this world where I'm offering you the swapsies, you let me know if you would take on this deal.
Okay.
Would you swap Mason Mount?
No. Don't finish it. No.
Oh,
no. Genuinely.
Jamie, this is the first time I'm going to have to change it. He said no straight away.
No, there isn't a player. I don't know what you could possibly say here. Because the answer is no.
Okay, so I'm going to start a new one then.
Yeah, because the Mason, whatever happens at Chelsea, Mason Mount, front, centre, pivotal to
and Reece James as well?
Yeah, there were a few players. Reece James, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
But there is nobody in the world I'd swap for Reece James.
I respect that. I respect
and Mason Mount
he didn't take the offer straight away. All right, next one then. Would you swap Kai Havertz?
Yes.
So he's not. This was a difficult role because he knows he wants it out. I'm gonna say Kai Havertz for Harry Kane.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
But Kwaku, I know this sort of you're not supposed to do this as a Chelsea fan.
Treachery.
But do you know what?
Don't care.
I actually like. Not only do I rate Kane, but I quite like him.
Yeah, same.
I just think he's brilliant. I think he is truly brilliant. Like world class as it comes, flawless footballer. I think he's got years to play. Like so obviously everybody would swap Kane for Havertz. The reason that you might not is because of age, right? You think that you get longer out of Havertz or whatever, which is obviously true. But do you remember when Teddy Sheringham played for Tottenham and hadn't won any silverware?
Yeah.
And then he got to 31, his contract ended, and he went to Man United at 31 and won a treble.
Mm-hmm.
And then played until he was 40. Remember, he was at Portsmouth, West Ham, wherever else.
Yeah.
I think that's Kane. I think Kane does that, if not to a higher level than Sheringham. Because Sheringham, glorious player, absolutely brilliant. But he was boozy. You remember the pictures of him in the dentist chair over in Thailand and all that? He's boozy. He's a party boy.
Of a
in
generation.
bed with Danielle Lloyd and whatever. Yeah, he's a party boy.
Yeah.
Whereas Kane's been happily married all his life, all his adult life.
Yeah.
And is focused on football entirely. It's a bold prediction, but I don't see why Harry Kane isn't playing at the very top in the way that Cristiano Ronaldo is playing at the very top in his late 30s.
Yeah, you can say many things about Harry Kane, but one thing you can say for sure is he's a consummate professional. I know this year, probably the first time in his career, he's maybe had his eyes off other things outside of football, maybe wanting that City move and not getting it, but even then, he's had an incredibly strong second half of the season. As a neutral, I take that trade any day of the week.
You know, as a West Ham fan, obviously there is an antipathy between you and Tottenham in the way that there is between Chelsea and Tottenham. Do you agree with what I said? Like, I actually like the bloke.
Yeah.
Like, I find him likeable, which is so weird.
There's also like a degree of patriotism towards it as well, because he's the man at England. I hate Tottenham, but I don't know how anyone can hate Harry Kane personally.
But mate, do you know what? As much as you say like the patriotism thing, that I don't even know if that comes into it for me, and that would be a great reason for me to like him. But I remember, this is going to show my age, but I remember going to Tottenham. And we won 3. Chelsea beat them 3-2. Marcel Desailly scored in the last minute.
Yes.
Right, it was amazing. Just before Desailly scored, Sheringham scored. And if you're going to go down the patriotism route, Sheringham was a pivotal player for England as well.
Yeah.
Sheringham scored in the 89th minute in front of us. Corner came in, he scored, and he celebrated in front of us and really gave it. And at that point, I was like, I really don't like this bloke. I really don't like him. And when we scored, I remember your priority when you score a goal is to celebrate, right? That's how you scored in the last minute at Tottenham. Your priority should be celebrate with your mates. Do you know what I was actually doing? I remember seeing Sheringham sort of look over at the away end in the corner of White Hart Lane. And I was like desperately trying to go, like I was so happy in that moment to kind of give Sheringham one. Whereas I don't really have that feeling towards Kane. I just think he's exceptional.
Yeah.
And I think he is definitely the best ever footballer to not have won a trophy.
Just on that Kane thing as well, I just feel like in terms of the respect, I think he should go in at the end of his career. He should go into all Premier League, the all-time Premier League side.
Well, he's going to get. I think he gets Shearer's record, don't you?
Yeah, I think he gets close to it. I don't know. 260 is just a lot of goals.
So 260 is a lot.
Yeah,
but he's going to play a lot of football. If my theory is correct, that he's playing for, it's practically another decade, Kwaku. If I'm right, and he does the Sheringham thing, he's going to score goals for practically another decade.
Yeah.
I just think he does it light work if he ends up playing for that long.
So just to clarify, Kai Havertz for Harry Kane.
Yeah, that's not even a... Yeah.
Okay, just before you wrap, Jamie, so if I was to say Mason Mount for Harry Kane, you're saying no, definitely not.
No, I wouldn't do Mason Mount for anyone.
Would you do Reece James for Harry?
I wouldn't do Reece James. There were certain players at Chelsea that I wouldn't... Because not only... Harry Kane's a better footballer than both of them, obviously. But he's not a better footballer for Chelsea. He's not more important to Chelsea. He isn't interwoven into the fabric of Chelsea, and he doesn't understand the club the way that somebody like Mason Mount and Reece James would. Yeah. And that stuff, while it's not quantifiable, passion, heart, dedication, love, I can't give you the stats on that.
Yeah,
I think it's worth its weight in gold, and I think those characteristics in those players are why Chelsea won a Champions League last year.
100%. And what I would say again, as a West Ham fan, they're one of your own as well. So you've got to hold on to those players. I wouldn't swap Mason Mount for anyone, even if it is, the best player in the world at this moment in time. But Rory, we've kept you for a long time.
No,
I know
not
you're
long
a busy
enough,
guy.
really. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I could do this easy for another hour, but they're going to be on our case upstairs.
Yeah.
Well, everyone knows where to find you anyway, but where can they find you on socials?
Chelsea Rory on socials and YouTube, Rory Jennings.
Amazing.
Thank you for having me, chaps.
You're more than welcome. We'll put the links in the description for you. And Quaker, where can they find us?
So you can find us on Twitter at WTF Podcast 90. You can find us on Instagram at We Talk Football Podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel. We'll be back with more videos like this very, very soon.
Cheers, guys. See you later.